All right, guys, welcome back to the EE Live Q&A with your host, Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher. I want to welcome all of you back. It's been a couple weeks since I last did one of these. We've had a few things going on in my family, and I'll share those with you in a little bit. Some of you will be watching this live, and some will be watching this as a recording. But I had some technical glitches when I first tried to bring on my guest today. And unfortunately, it's going to result in me not being able to have him join me. But I'm hoping that next Tuesday he will. I had an update to one of my software programs that I use. And then when I tried to add in Vishal, who is supposed to join me to talk about the Prince Edward Island P&P program, because he just recently received his passport request through that program. I was going to have him join me and talk about that, but we'll have to do that next week. As I indicated many times before, this is Mark Holthe. I am an immigration lawyer. I am not a technical expert. And when the software program that I use required the update, I went to update it, and then I couldn't remember what the password was. And I had problems with this before, so I can't bring on the live guest. But with that being said, we're still going to go forward here with our questions and our answers regarding express entry. I'm going to talk with you guys about a few things that are going on right now in my personal practice, as well as some of the things going on within my family that are making things a little bit more challenging. Oh, excuse me. Okay, I'm going to get this up live here if I can on my own phone, because I know that I am not able to watch everything that you guys do when you're posting comments. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to see if I can get it to appear. And with any luck, once that goes live here on my phone, then I'll be able to see your questions. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I think we're good now. I think I actually can see. All right, let's see. Yes, good. Okay, Elizabeth is here. Gian, thanks guys for your patience. I really appreciate it. Make sure you post once again where you're listening from, because I love to see where you guys are tuning in from all over the world. Obviously, the timing isn't always great for people that are in Asia Pacific or the other side of our dear world here, but welcome to all of you who are tuning in. Now, many of you sent me questions in advance, and I will get to those ones first. And then I will jump on and I'll answer all of your questions live. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, first thing on the agenda is the fact that, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is live. I'm going to show you guys this. Check it out. Okay, here's my knee. Oh, let's see. I'm going to turn the light off. I want to show you my knee here. Okay, check this out. Oh, you still can't see it really very good. That's kind of glary, isn't it? Let's see if I tip it down. Okay, there you go. Now you can see. Now you can see there. Okay, see I got those marks? So I just had knee debridement, meniscus debridement surgery on Thursday to repair some tears in my meniscus from my basketball days. And so on Thursday I had a surgery. And so I was preparing for that, and that basically took me away from being able to do much in terms of the participation on our Express Entry Law private Facebook group. But it's healing nicely. And I'm going to also show you something else that's totally cool. Check this out. So this thing is awesome. You can see right here, it's got this hose coming into it, and then it pumps cold ice water, which I have a little cooler down here, right into this thing, and it helps to cut down the recovery time substantially. So I am so excited about that because my knee, I can actually walk on it, which is pretty amazing considering I just had knee surgery just on Thursday. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm sure many of you are like, Mark, why in the world are you sharing that? Anyway, so that's what I'm dealing with here. Now, it's not just me. My dear son, who many of you guys know was away serving a mission for our church, he ended up tearing his ACL in his knee. And so we had his doctor's appointment just this morning, and he is going to be going in for surgery on June the 8th, I think. And then hopefully 2 months recovery, right around there, maybe 3. And then he's going to be flying back to Trinidad. And maybe he could be serving as well in Suriname. Anyway, so that's what's going on in the Holy household. And that's part of the reason why I've been struggling a little bit with answering people's questions and everything, because I have a life outside of the law. And both my personal stuff and my children and their lives pulls me away. So thanks for your patience with all of that. Okay, so we've got a few people. Shannon from Abu Dhabi has said hello here, which is great. And I'm just wondering how she's basically at this stage. I know because of the inconsistency with our with the guest and the delays, there's a number of people that haven't yet come back on, and so we'll see if they are able to connect. But at this stage, I'm just going to go through the questions that have been asked to this point, and I'm going to get my pen here so that I can also make a note of the time that I answer these questions so that people will be able to search through these EE Live Q&As a little bit better. Okay, so this question here is from Shannon, and Shannon actually is one of the guests that is on right now. So you are going to get your question answered, Shannon. So she says, "Hi, Mark. I have a question about work experience. I've got 5 years experience as a secondary school teacher, okay, NOC 4031, but I have previous years experience at other teaching levels. 1 year in elementary, 3 years with adults, 1 year university. From what I can tell, I should choose the NOC in which I have the most experience, which is generally true, yes, as long as it's skilled. But my question is, should I include the others in my application somewhere? To be honest, it would be a huge hassle to get the reference letters from those places as supervisors, and such have moved on. Plus, they're all in different countries." Well, Shannon, I can tell you that you are 100% correct. In your work history section, that's the section you're filling in within your Express Entry profile, you only need to list your secondary school teacher experience, that first 5 years. Do not waste time listing all those other places that you've worked as a teacher. It's not necessary in any way. The reality is that once you get your invitation to apply, your ITA, there will be a separate section that is called your personal history. And in there, that's where you list everything that you've done over the past 10 years. But yeah, you don't have to list that work experience at all. It would be crazy. You'd have to chase down things that are not adding any value. And in reality, when it comes to foreign work experience, you're not getting any more comprehensive ranking system points if you have more than 3 years of foreign work experience. So once you have those 3 years and you can prove them, you're not getting any more comprehensive ranking system points for that foreign work experience. The only other thing that you will want to take into consideration is that everybody needs to meet one of the program requirements of either the Federal Skilled Worker Program or the Canadian Experience Class Program, or the Federal Skilled Trade for that matter. But one of those programs, you have to meet the minimum eligibility criteria. And when you're doing that, there is a work experience component to that, which gives you certain points. And if you're going through the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you need to meet the minimum threshold of 67 points out of a total of 100. And in order to meet those points, you can have up to 6 years of foreign work experience and get points for it. But if you've already met the 67-point threshold on the Federal Skilled Worker Program, then you don't need to include any other work experience other than the 3 years that will give you the maximum points for skill transferability within the Express Entry program. All right? Okay, great question, Shannon. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope that was helpful. If it was, just give me a thumbs up. Vishal says, "Hello, wishing good health for you and your kid." And Vishal was so kind. I told him he was waiting so patiently, and he was going to come on and talk about the PEI and that provincial nominee program and his experience working with it. And he was so gracious and so understanding with the glitches that just exist sometimes when we're doing this. So thanks so much, Vishal, for your patience, and we look forward to having you come back and join us. All right. Mohammed says, hello from Toronto. Hello, Mohammed. And Jaspreet says that he needs help to enter into any PNP. Well, Jaspreet, you basically fit with the other hundreds of thousands of people who are also seeing their comprehensive ranking system scores under 400 with no possibility at this stage of qualifying. So I understand. I hear where you're at. And there, Shannon gave me a thumbs up. Thanks so much, Shannon. All right. Okay, I've been battling a few allergies too now that the sun has been shining around here. Okay, this question is from Lewis. And Lewis says, hello, Mark. I hope that you're doing awesome as always. I have two quick questions in regards to proof of funds. Okay, so the first question that he's asking is, I'm a single outland applicant, and I have maintained a balance of about $15,000 Canadian. So that's in excess of what's required. However, I made sure that it stays over the $12,475, which is the minimum requirement. Great. He says, nonetheless, the rate of Canadian got spiked and the amount was lower than $12,475 for a couple of days. But I refilled my account with funds and now it is equal to about 13,000 Canadian. My question is, will this affect my application in a detrimental way? No, it won't at all, Lewis. Obviously, the amount that you need to demonstrate has to be at the minimum level for proof of funds when you submit your electronic application for permanent residence. So after you get your ITA and then you submit your EAPR, it has to be there. And you need to make sure that you've maintained that and you can demonstrate it at the time in which you land in Canada and you become a permanent resident. But if there's, because of currency fluctuations, it dips down a little bit or it climbs up, that is totally fine. That is not an issue. It's not something that an officer would get worked up over at all. You just need to make sure that you are maintaining those funds at the time in which you submitted your EAPR and when you are landing as a permanent resident of Canada. All right. Great question. Okay. Next question as well is, let's see here. He says, my proof of funds has been sitting idle in my account from last year and a half, giving me no interest. My CRS is 438 and I'm expecting an ITA soon. Nevertheless, I also want to transfer my idle funds to a fixed deposit so that I can earn some interest. Now, if I get a fixed deposit, it will certainly be newer than 6 months. But if I attach a statement of these funds sitting idle and write a letter of explanation, do you think it would work? Or should I let the funds sit idle and not take any risk? Lewis, there is no problems transferring those funds into what you've indicated here into a fixed deposit. There isn't. Ultimately, you can track where those funds have come from. You can explain that they were in a traditional account that wasn't earning any interest, and because of the delays in receiving an ITA, you decided to move it over to an interest-bearing account. That is totally fine. You track everything that's happened, and there isn't an officer anywhere that would have an issue with that. All right? And just like you've indicated, your letter of explanation will help to bridge that gap when you're filing your express entry application, and you'll help to clarify for an officer. All right? So that is great. Okay, great question, Lewis. And Lewis, I'm going to toss yours into the air. All right. Okay, Afshan. Afshan is next. He says, hi, Mark. I'm residing in a foreign country from the last 12 years. And this question actually from Afshan is regarding police clearances. So he says, I received an ITA and in the checklist, CIC requested only a police clearance from the current country of residence. Well, I guess it depends on your answers, but I'll set this aside for now. Should I also provide police clearances from country of origin, although I have not visited there for more than 6 months in the last 10 years, and also it is not requested by CIC? Okay. So this is the answer. Hope my question is clear. I'm in great dilemma and wondering if CIC will later request for this. Okay, so here's how I approach this. In the instructions, it asks you to provide police clearances for the last 10 years for every country that you've lived in for 6 months in a row. And so if you've actually been outside your country of citizenship for more than 10 years and you haven't returned back there, then and you've indicated, and he's indicated here, I have not visited there for more than 6 months. So guaranteed he's gone back for different periods. If you read the explanation that IRCC grants, then technically speaking, you don't need to provide a police clearance for that country. But I'll tell you something, okay? And this is entirely my personal preference. If you are going back repeatedly and you have a lot of trips back, and it's not a big deal to request a police clearance from that country, I would just do it. Now, this is not the law. This is not in any way, shape, or form what the policy or the directions that the government has said. But ultimately, an officer can ask for a police clearance from anywhere. They can ask for any other additional supporting documentation if they want to see it. And I don't think there's any harm in you going ahead and getting it. It's not specifically required based on the instructions of IRCC, which you've indicated. But if it's not a big deal and it's easy for you to get it, then there's no harm. I'd just go get it. But understand it's not a specific requirement. So you can choose how you'd like to proceed. That's me, ultra conservative. I'm always trying to do everything I can to make the officer's job as easy as possible and to make things go forward as smoothly as possible for my clients. And if I think even there's an inkling or any reason whatsoever to add a different documentation or add additional information that maybe would help an officer, I tend to do it. So, but I'll leave that one up to you, Afshan. Great question. Okay, this question is from Emika. And Amika says, I hope you are fit now after the knee surgery. Yes, actually, I'm really looking forward to it. When I talked to my physician, Dr. Kwan, he said to me that my meniscus was pretty messed up. And so he did a lot of cleaning in there. And I'm actually hoping now that my knee is going to feel a whole lot better than it used to, because there were lots of things tore up inside that meniscus that were causing problems with my knee. I could still ride my bike, but when it came to playing basketball or things like that with my friends, it wasn't happening. So I'm so grateful for Dr. Kwan and the work that he did on me. All right. I'm hoping that I'm going to be recovered and fit and back into doing all the activities I enjoyed. All right. So Amika says, I would like to know if it's okay to use a national identification card for an unaccompanying wife as a means of identification if she has no passport yet. I always submit passports. So if there's a reason that you have to file immediately, then you'll see that you can use other forms of travel documents. But traditionally, a national ID card is not something that will allow you to actually become a permanent resident of Canada. And so if there's a reason why you specifically need to have this, then I'm not sure if you're watching live, Amika, but if not, that's fine. But if you are, maybe you can explain why you want to file your profile right immediately. In all honesty, I would get the passport. I would not mess around with submitting other identification cards, even though IRCC does allow for some flexibility with those identification cards. You're ultimately going to need a passport anyways. So I always go forward and I get that passport. That's me. Ultimately, you can choose how you'd like to proceed. Okay, Amika, I'll throw yours into the air. Okay, now the next question here, and this is the last one from the standpoint of the emails that were sent in. This one is from Nag. And Nag says, hello, I am Nagarajun, and I am planning to apply for a Canadian PR. As I am a self-employed person, I'm in a dilemma that I don't know how I can gain points from my experience. So essentially what Nag is asking is how to prove foreign work experience if you are self-employed. Is there any chance, he says, is there any chance to claim points for my self-employed experience? Will I have a chance to work in Canada? And if so, what is the process? Okay, so as far as working in Canada, I'll leave that one aside. But he gives a little bit of background and then says, he says, I've got, actually, you know what? I'm just going to address, Naga, your question is quite involved. It actually requires that I go through your work experience and do things that are probably beyond the benefits of the group entirely here. But your question specifically relates to how do I prove self-employed work experience? So I am going to go in here. I'm going to clean up my lovely desktop a little bit here, and I'm going to share my screen with all of you, and I think you can now see it here. I'm going to blow this up big, and then I'm going to go to my source of all goodness, which is the completeness check, and I'm going to show you something here. This right here is the best place in the world to find information, well, aside from the actual document checklist, but generally speaking, it has a lot of the same information that's right in the APR. The proof of work experience, you'll see right here that there are specific instructions on what to do if you're self-employed. So the short answer, Nog, is yes, you can claim self-employed work experience. But the key is, as you watch, you'll see that Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada is specifically looking, and I'm going to blow this up nice and big so that everybody can see, because I love to make it easy for you guys. You can see here that generally, when you are providing reference letters, this is the information that you need to prove. Job title, duties and responsibilities, your job status, dates worked for the company, number of work hours per week, and annual salary plus benefits. Well, you need to be able to prove that. And as a self-employed person, you can't just use your own self-declared duties. And you can see right here below, self-declared duties or affidavits are not acceptable. So you need to prove through third-party evidence, other pieces of documentation, each of these things that are generally asked for in a reference letter. And so if you're going through this, you're going to follow the instructions that IRCC has here. And you can see if you're self-employed, then you need to show that your business actually exists, and articles of incorporation or other evidence of business ownership, you need to prove that. Then you need to prove that you actually have earned income from your work experience. So if you are an actual dentist, for example, and you are receiving income payments from your patients who come to see you, then you're going to need to show proof that you're actually receiving that money. And also, it says here, documentation from third parties indicating the service provided with the payment details. So usually whenever you're doing work for someone, whether you're a lawyer or an accountant or a dentist or some other business that you own, you're going to be issuing bills or invoices to those clients who are then, that's going to describe the service that you offered and how much the cost is for that service. And then you're going to have a record of them paying you. And it's the onus is on you to be able to prove that you actually worked in that position, that your position was at a skilled level, that you were working over a certain period of time. And the number of hours worked is not always that easy, but the reality is if you're working in your own business, more than likely you're probably working more than 40 hours per week, because that's what most of us do when we have our own businesses. But the onus is on you to be able to prove these things. And so it is possible. You have to be creative. And yeah, that's basically how the government, what their expectations are when you're trying to claim self-employed work experience. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to just shrink this one down. And like I said, right now, unfortunately, I can't see all of the comments as easy as I would like. But I'm going to go through here, the ones that I can see on my phone, and try to answer some of you patient people who've been waiting live to get your question answered. Okay, so Afshan says, thank you so much. Have a great day. You're very welcome. Saud says, hello. Veer says, hi, Mark. I asked a couple of questions on the behalf of my friend related to proof of funds. He is Lewis. He sent me an email, but not sure whether it will be answered or not. So I copy-pasted his message straight into the comment section, and I've already answered it. Thanks very much. You're a rock star. That's awesome, Veer. Well, you are very welcome. Very, very welcome. Okay, while we're waiting for some other people to ask questions, those of you who are tuning in live, I'll share an experience that I had today with another client who had paid to have a paid consultation with me. And guys, these questions that I answer are general in nature, And so they don't specifically answer every person's unique circumstances. And the way that you can do that is by booking a paid consultation with me. And in 30 minutes, I can usually answer pretty much, a lot of the main concerns that you have. And so many people ask me, well, Mark, how do I do that? And how much do you charge? Well, I'm going to share my screen with you guys again. And this time I'm going to show you exactly where you can go to book a paid consultation with me. And so I will put this in the comment section. And let's see if I can even post it here now that I am watching my own self live here. I'm going to post this in the comments. And this is where I keep thinking, man, Mark, if you had someone that was actually helping you to do this, life would be so much better given the challenges that you face technologically and everything when you are trying to actually talk and do a whole bunch of things in the background all at the same time, speak coherently, answer people's questions, fix all of the lovely technical glitches that we're having all the time, and multitask. So you guys should be really impressed with my ability to do all of this. Okay, let's see. I just posted it. So I just posted the link right here to this site. And you can see right here, this is where you can go to book a consultation with me. And there's a button up here, but this is the site. So if you go here, you can enter your information in here. You can tell me a little bit about what it is that you need. And you can see right now the fee structure is set up below. So it's billed on an hourly basis. For lawyers, and that's me, right now it's $400 per hour. So that works out to about $200 if you look up above here. $200 for a 30-minute consult, and that's Canadian. And then immigration consultants are $100 within our office. And so that is the best place if you've got something that's really specific that you're just not sure, and it relates to something very unique to just you. That's the best way to get direction and advice. And we can usually resolve things pretty quick for you guys. All right. Abdul says, thanks for your valuable information. You're very welcome, Abdul. Iman says, hello. Why does CIC ask me to submit Schedule A despite the fact that I'm already explained everything in the PR application with all the required docs? Iman, I cannot answer in any way, shape, or form why they would do that. I don't have an answer for you. And that's one of those circumstances where it depends on what you submitted in your own application. If there was some gap, if there was some inconsistency, if there was something they wanted clarification, maybe if you used a representative or someone else, they want you to provide information in a way that's more detailed or otherwise. I really can't answer that one. Okay, Abdul says, hello, Mark. Really appreciate your great efforts, which you put in spite of your personal problems. Thanks, Abdul. My question is that my wife is the principal applicant, and can we show our joint account money in proof of funds, or can money from her father-in-law is valid to show? So when it comes to proof of funds, you need to show that you have control over that money, that it is available for your use unequivocally, irrevocably, that it's not a loan. And so when you indicate about a father-in-law here, that tells me that generally speaking, you are going to need to show that those funds are in your possession. Funds that are jointly held between a parent and a child, when the parent is not a part of the application, which is obviously the case with express entry, in those types of situations, I would never want to use that as proof of funds alone, just because of the fact that an officer could ask questions about whether or not you actually have the ability to use that money. So if it's in a joint account and the parent also has access to it, there's no guarantee that you can satisfy an officer that it's truly unequivocally for the use of you and your family. So I tend to shy away from that, but that's a good question. Okay. So I'm just making a note here for our description. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to take just a second here, and I'm going to talk about something that I just had a consult with people today. Let's see, we're just about at, so I'm just going to make a note of the time here, 20:45. Okay, so some of you will know, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to share my screen with you guys. some of you will know that within the comprehensive ranking system, there are a number of ways that you can get points. And there's the traditional way where, let's see if I can blow this up, maybe bigger. That's maybe too big. There's probably okay there. So when we're going through the comprehensive ranking system and we're getting points, you can get points for official languages. You can see right here. I'm going to close this. This is in my way. So you can get points for your first official language, and you can get up to almost 128 points, which is awesome. But you can also get extra points if you speak a second official language. Usually the first is English and the second is French. And so you can see here, if your French language ability, you can earn, if you're married, up to 22 extra points, and if you're single, up to 24. And so if your Canadian language benchmark is at least a 5, then you can start earning some points for each ability. But if you can reach a CLB 7 or 8, really a CLB 7, you get points for that, for each ability. But here's the cool thing about if you have French at least a CLB 7. If you scroll down here and you look at some of these other things, so skill transferability, we're skipping through that, we're zipping all the way to the end here. You'll see that there's been recently, at least last year, and this is why CRS points are a little bit higher now, but it's important for people to understand. You can see right here, if you have a score, well, let's start with your English. Obviously, all of you are going to probably have a CLB 4 or higher in English. I should say a CLB 4 or lower in English. Everybody's going to fit into that. If you have even a score of 7, and it says NCLC, which is basically equivalent to the CLB, but if you have at least a 7 or higher in all 4 of these abilities, you can get an extra 15 points. But for most of you, you probably already have a CLB 5 in your English because that's your primary language. So if you're able to score at least an NCLC 7 in each of the 4 French language skills, you can get 30 extra points, which is massive. And that was the case for the consultation that I had this morning. And the person that I visited with, she was at a CLB 7, right? Or an NCLCS, an NCLC 7 in all of the abilities except speaking. And she was so close. She had an NCLC 6. And so all that she needed to do was to go and take another try at that French test, increase her speaking a little bit in French, and she was going to get an extra 30 points, which would have given her and her family 467, I think, comprehensive ranking system points, which would, at this stage, that would have guaranteed an ITA. So don't neglect and don't forget that if you do have any French in your background, a CLB equivalent of a level 7 or NCLC 7 can do amazing things for your ability to score comprehensive ranking system points. Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, Jasmine says, hello, Mark. I work as a teacher in Saudi Arabia. I have a teaching license here, but I do not hold a Bachelor of Education degree. I've done the TESOL, though. CRS is 350. What are my chances of PNP? Okay, Jasmine, this is one of those situations where that would really require a paid consultation because it goes beyond something of a general nature. But I can answer that you don't need to have a Bachelor of Education degree in order to claim foreign work experience for the purposes of teaching. Even though the National Occupational Classification System, the NOC 2016, says in Canada you need a degree to be able to teach, when you're claiming foreign work experience, that's not the case. And I'm going to draw you guys' attention to something else. If you guys are not aware of this, because like I said, Facebook is constantly making me have to tell people over and over and over again what I'm doing. If you go to YouTube and you go to my channel, which is the Canadian Immigration Institute, which, holy cow, I'm over 7,000 subscribers now. In here, you will see that there are a ton of videos. In fact, I tried to record and post all of these here. And so you'll see here, there's a section, one that I did. It was one of these express entry tip of the days. Here we go, this one. does my education need to match my work experience? And in this one, I'll tell you, Jasmine, this is the one that you'll want to watch. And so if I was to do this, I'm going to stop this here. And I'm just going to see if I can actually go in and find this and post it for you guys right within the live feed right now. And I appreciate you guys bearing with me as I go through this, because if I had someone who was in the background, maybe I need to get a volunteer to help me do this. But if I had someone in the background, they could post these things live right on the spot as I'm working through them. So let me just see. Bear with me. I think I can make this work. I'm going to find the actual video. Oh, I've got a ton. You guys also don't know that those of you who have given me your email address have access to 15 brand new videos that talk specifically about the most common questions I get with Express Entry. Okay, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to take this one here. I am going to copy the link on my phone. Boy, this is high tech, guys. And I'm going to post this one, and this is for you, Jasmine. So I'm going to post this right there, and then there. Awesome. Okay, so now you have access to this video, which is going to answer all of your questions about that. And I now see that it is posted. Hooray. So you guys should be able to click on that link, and it will take you right to that YouTube, which will give more information and answer more questions about education, matching your job experience abroad. Okay, I'll make a note of that there. And that one was probably about 34 or something. Okay, good. Okay, let's see who else has got questions here. Okay, Fazila says, hey, Mark, thank you so much for all the help you provide. I really appreciate it. You're welcome, Fazila. Okay, Shivam says, hi, Mark, I have a personal loan. It looks like INR, okay, 2,000 to be paid yet. I got this loan in September 2016, and my proof of funds came into my account in September 2017, and it has been there since. So this is another proof of funds one. And I'll just make a note here. Okay, so okay, I got this loan in September of 2016, and my proof of funds came into my account in September of 2017, and it's been there since then. Should I rectify the loan before the ITA, or it doesn't make a difference as if I will have any liability? Okay, Shivam, ultimately an officer will look at all of the background information and use that to determine whether or not you have sufficient funds. If you are using some of that loan as your actual proof of funds, then that's not good. So to say that if you had $2,000 in your account that came via a loan, that will cause you a problem, because you can't use loans to establish your proof of funds. But if you have your proof of funds independently, and the loan is just something you have on the side, then an officer doesn't take the loan and subtract it from your assets or the money you actually have in your account. They don't do that. They look at things holistically. They look at how much your payments are for that loan, because often loans are paid out over time. And so they'll have a greater tendency to actually look at the payments you have on that loan to see how those would impact on your proof of funds. But they'll look at your whole history. They'll look to see how long you've had the money in your account, to look like it is your own savings. It's information, it's dollars that you've acquired via your own industry, your own work, and they'll factor all those in. And so hopefully that answers your question, Shivam. Okay, and then Jasmine says, thanks a bunch, Mark. You're very welcome. All right, guys. Well, today, this EE Live Q&A is a little bit shorter, just because we didn't have our guest able to come on because of my stupid software program. So frustrating. But I wanted to just let you guys know that he will be back, and I'm so grateful for his patience with me. And we'll talk about the PEI, Provincial Nominee Program, next Tuesday at noon Mountain Standard Time, where I will be here answering your questions about Express Entry. And remember, all of the things that I'm sharing with you guys, and I tell everybody all the time about this, you can access information, answers to your questions, all these things within my Express Entry complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself. And if you're wondering, how do I find this, Mark? you can go right in here, and all you need to do, and I can even just type right over this, is just type in CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com, and it will take you right to the place where you can access the course and you can enroll in it. And when you enroll in the course, it is you can subscribe for $97 a month, a whole month access for only $97 US, or you can purchase a lifetime access that will give you the ability to use it forever, as long as you want to. And so all you need to do, and I'll just type this right into our comments here, is Canadian Immigration Institute.com. And those of you who are watching on YouTube, I will make sure that I post that for you guys within the description of our YouTube video so that you've got it. All right. Well, I think at this stage, I think I've covered off pretty much everything that I need. I've got a consult that's now in the office that I've got to get to. So I want to express appreciation for all of your patience as we had a few of our technical glitches. And I want to wish all of you guys the very best going forward as you navigate this crazy world that we call Express Entry. Take care, everyone.